Okay, I just want to first thank the ninth graders for ruining my summer. Part of the fun of doing ninth grade is that you don't know who you're getting coming into the year. Be very honest with you guys about that. You have no idea who's coming. You know, generally the other grades you do know, so you know it's going to be a wonderful year. But I don't know, and that's part of the fun, and that's part of the geschmack of having new people come together, and I love it. But the one thing about the summer is, like, I wonder who I'm getting, I wonder how it's going to look. And there's always a little bit of like a what if, and you daven hard. But if I would have known, it would have been like this. You boys are absolutely amazing. I could not have asked for a better start. So if I would have known, it would have like taken that edge off of like that part of the summer, and it would have made it a whole lot better. So you ruined it. But this is awesome start. Everyone in Yeshiva, the energy, my share, you guys are really, really it's going to be an amazing year. I wanted to start with that. Second thing, just wanted to talk about, I remember when I was getting my PhD in Rebbe school, they told me you should always outline ahead of time what you're going to talk about. So I want to talk about cleaning your room, becoming a paratrooper, getting carjacked, almost, and Rosh Hashanah. You guys probably noticed a few days ago in the dorm, there was like 1 hour where it wasn't toxic, like the air level thing they had with the wildfires. It was actually breathable. There was the 1 hour where Chaim Tzvi cleaned his room because his father was coming to visit. Okay, and he was very busy. He wanted to, as soon as, it wasn't like, Rabbi, can I leave 5 minutes in this year because like my dad grunt. It was like, stayed to the last minute, wanted to be able to the end, and then the second it was over, he ran down, he told me he has to clean his room, his father's coming. It's a great visit with your father. And it's kind of like, why? I mean, if you would ask your father, or if you would ask any father whose son is in a dorm in high school, what do you think the room looks like? Do you think it's going to be as clean as when you see it? Like, if you could, like, what?
To see him at home.
Right. Right, but here there's other people also to add to the flavor. If you would ask him, like, how does the room look? Do you think it looks like this? You come to the room, everything's set and neat and nice, right? Any normal functioning father would be like, picturing his son's room and be like, right. It's probably, there's probably a sock on the floor, right? So your father knows when you're coming to visit, what, he knows that you cleaned up for him, and he knows it doesn't usually look like this. And so, it doesn't smell like this. So he knows all that, so what are you doing it for? The same thing. I mean, like, what do you do once you're married and you just, your house is like, your house really needs to be put back together. And what's the best move to do? You invite your in-laws, because when you invite your in-laws, you have to have the place clean. There's no question, right? And when your in-laws come, right, or your parents come, or any family comes, and you're a self-respecting human being, everyone in the family gets to work, and you work for days to clean the place up, and you clean things which you would maybe normally want to be clean but don't get to as much, and everyone's like slaving away until, they get to knock on the door, they come in, wow, this place is beautiful, and you're like, sorry, it's still a mess, I know. And they're like, no, it's beautiful, no, right? And then they're like, oh, you didn't have to do it for us. Like, oh, no, but we didn't. Right? And when you go to somebody else's house for Shabbos, right? You walk into somebody else's house, right? And like, you want to get a tissue from the bathroom, or you want to go to the closet to put your coat away, and like all the doors look the same. Like other people's houses. You have no idea which one to open. And it's always that one with the fake thing that doesn't even open. Like, oh, it's like very awkward. It's like when you try to leave somebody's house. This is my last example. When you try to leave somebody's house, this happened to me yesterday, and you try turning the lock, and it never works. You always somehow end up locking it more. The guy's like, oh, is that, no, that one, it just happened to me yesterday. Forgot what we're talking about. But when you go to somebody's house for Shabbos and you finally get that coat closet open, right, or you open the wrong closet and went to the coat closet, all of a sudden this gigantic mess collapses onto you. You get a pile of jackets, you get those like Yontif Story supplements from the Bina, you get single left-hand gloves, maybe some kids fall out, and the one thing for sure everybody's house has coming out of the closet is Amazon returns from like 6 months ago that no one ever like shipped, right? So all that stuff comes out, right? And it's clear this is not where it's meant to be kept, but you knew that right before you came, they stuffed things into the closet, got the place super clean, right? And then they're still apologizing about the mess, right? Why? Like, come on, I know, like, what are you doing it for, right? So why? So the answer is that as a self-respecting human being, part of being a person is that you're respecting somebody who's coming, even if they're your parents, right? You grow up with your parents. They know you, you know them. But when they come to your house, you clean up. When they come to your dorm room, right? It's not like a married thing. Chaim Tzvi is a self-respecting person, and he also respects his father. So you clean up. That's just something you do. That's a nice, like, it's a respectful thing. It's not because you're going to have it any cleaner the minute before. You definitely didn't have it cleaner the minute before. It won't be cleaner 2 minutes after, but you're doing it because you respect it. So it's not like, oh, what are you doing? You're such a faker. You're not a faker. That's part of doing it. And if you wouldn't do it, right? Let's try the other way. Let's say your parents' in-laws were coming, or you were going somewhere for Shabbos, or your parents are coming to your dorm room, and the place was trashed, right? So, like, I had a friend once. That didn't sound good. I have a friend. Right? It's like Shia, what was it, this week, last week? You started the story saying, I have this room in my house. Oh, no, I don't, right? I just did the same thing. So I have a friend, and his father is the funniest person you'll ever meet. He lives in Queens. And one time, I think we came for Shabbos, and someone gave him like a platter or one of those things you do. And he's like, oh, thanks, it wasn't necessary, but it was expected, right? Like, it was like, yes, I love him. But the point is, these things are expected. These things are going to, so let's say you just didn't, right? And your in-laws came, and the place was just, not trash. It was normal, the way it looks on a regular day, even if it's in decent shape. It's insulting. Why is it insulting? They're your parents. They're your in-laws. They're your siblings. They're your friends. They're your neighbors. Right? And we all get it. And we all know what each other's houses look like. And we all know how this works. And we all know the system. And we all know, I'm not going to call it a charade because it's not a charade. It's a real thing. It's insulting because there's a certain amount of respect you put when people come. Part of that respect is, you're coming, we respect you, we want to make our place look better for you because we want to show our best selves for you. Even though minute before, minute after, it's gonna be what it was or it's going to revert. And it's insulting if you don't do it. But you're not a faker. How do you know you're not a faker? Because this is really how you want it to be, right? Afterwards, you're always like, oh, I wish that corner of the room was always a little cleaner, the way I just did it now. The one with the Amazon returns, I wish I didn't have those 3 boxes always there. By the way, you only have 30 days to make those, so most of those anyway are but that's not called faking. That's called I wish. It's called trying, even if you don't take action on it. A faker is somebody who doesn't want it that way. A faker is somebody who puts on a show going against what he wants. It's like, oh, a person is somebody who wants to impress comes, or so he's a Rebbe and he wants to show he's all whatever, and instead of getting his act together, he fakes it. It's Esav, right? You do is you put on a show, you put on the costume, and even then, it's not really how you want it. As soon as he leaves, it's off. That's different. That's called faking. When you actually want it to be, you want your house clean. That's not faking. You're putting on your best. Okay, it's like when I remember there's a famous Rabbi Baruch Finkel Zatzal was what? Was right your costumes, yeah. Let's not go. So he was a Rosh Yeshiva in the Mir in Yerushalayim, and he gave a very famous Shidduch Shmuz, Friday night Parshas Chayei Sarah, and he always said that 90% of the people who went to the Shmuz were engaged by the next year. Only 10% don't. I was one of the 10% because I wasn't in Shidduch until the next year, but he said, somebody asked him, when you're going on your first date or any date, right? You're all dressed up and everyone's like whatever, and everyone's like being really good, and everyone, I really care how your year in seminary was, right? So, what are you doing? It's a show. The answer is because you're respecting it. This is how we do things. We're trying to impress somebody. It's not fake. This is me in that mode. This is me in my in-laws coming mode. This is me in my first impression mode. This is me in my business interview mode. When Dr. M last year asked me to make his tie for him, it was so cute. He had a Zoom interview, right? And he asked me, right? He was trying to, okay, whatever. I'm just bringing that because it was really cute. But, so you're showing respect. That's what you do. That's what you're supposed to do. Okay? And it's not faking. So Elul, the whole thing, why am I doing it, right? Why am I doing the whole Elul thing, especially getting into Slichos, Aseret Yemei Tshuva, taking on some Chumras maybe? Why am I doing it? What do you tell yourself? Well, who are you fooling? Who are you kidding? You remember what you were in the summer. You remember what you may be right after HaShanah Yom Kippur. Even ideally, if you take on that one small Kabbalah, you're still 99% back to what you were in your eyes. You're really not. You're really 20 times better. But that's what your Yetzer Hara tells you. So why are you even trying? Let's say you're not even holding yet. I mean, everyone could do something small. But let's say you end up by Rosh Hashanah. Let's say you make your big Kabbalah after Rosh Hashanah. But you're going to Rosh Hashanah for now. You put on a suit. Let's say Slichos. You sit there, you give them midas, you clap, you come in, you get your machzor, you get your suit, you sit, you dive in through it, you try your best, try to put in some emotion here and there, and the whole time you're giving yourself this guilt trip, what am I doing? Come on, this is not really me. The answer is because that's what at the very least, that is what you do on Rosh Hashanah. The king is here. We know what Rosh Hashanah is. We know the basics of it. The king is here. This is our time to get judged. So yes, it's not a show. We're preparing. This is what you do. It's more than just a social thing. You're respecting it. You're respecting the Kadosh Baruch Hu. You're respecting yourselves. Any less would be insulting. And you're not faking because no one's like, oh, this is not me. I really hate this. It's hard. The davening, I'm not about the length of the davening. No one's like, I hate this mode of like actually like feeling good about myself and feeling like putting myself on a standard. No one hates that, right? We feel guilty sometimes because we wish we were doing more and we don't realize how easy it is to get to a perfect point. So we're very hard on ourselves. But you're not faking it. Just that, just the coming to slichas and just being a part of it and just being comfortable listening to a shmooze about Elul, all right, that's what's it called. That itself is that's huge. The king comes to town, you show up, even if you're, what's a king? Who's a king? It feels like it's such a pain. He comes every year. No, that when you're coming in your suit, you are doing something major. You're respecting the system. That means you are fully on board. You have work to do, but you are fully on board. You are a member of this society, of this city, of this kingdom. You are a active, self-respecting and respectful member of this system. And that's huge. That's something you have to know. The fact that it's not going through motions. It's only going through motions if you go against it. It's only going through motions if you like resent it to the point that like what did Hashem ever do for me? Whatever. Even then, everything can be worked out. But that's major. And even when you get your house ready for your in-laws or your parents or your friends, right? No one's expecting you to line the pavement with gold. First of all, I'm sure Mayor Stein in Cleveland Heights will come out with this. You violated 14 city ordinances. Okay, I think I'm supposed to get $5 back for one of my tickets, whatever. But you don't do that. No one expects that. No one expects you to like all of a sudden get an interior designer and change. It's all within your means. Your parents, or when you go somewhere, you're impressed because they made it nice in its own context. They made it clean. But it's the little things, right? My wife finds these like a little tissue box holder, like woven basket holder thing, right? Or if you go to a hotel, even the big hotels, right? What makes the Ritz so much? It's the little things they put in, the things that make like the diffusers, right? I don't know if you guys know what it's like. What you do is you like inhale something and it makes you feel good. Like it's a scented. It's like a scent, right? Yeah, diffusers. Is that what they're called? Right. So they make them really. It's these small people like, wow, this is like really. You really went out of your way. You put out a little like I don't know. You just like a little piece of art, a little welcome sign. People make welcome. Huh? Oh my gosh! Right. Exactly. Those little shampoos, the little toiletries, right? Those really, like, okay, the house is a little awkward because it's easy to know who, like, oh, the Schwartzes are coming. All right, there goes the conditioner. But same idea. So when even your little things, those little, like, we call them, not window dressings. They're like real, that's like major. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that's gold. Those little things, you straighten yourself up a little more, you daven a little this, you stay in your seat. That's major. It's not like small. So like you're there anyway. You're anyway going through the motions. Slichas, like for one Ashamnu or one hour, or you stand up an extra minute in between Yigam Lamidas. Those things are huge. That's how Kadosh Baruch Hu, I'm putting work into it. I'm actually putting in these like little embellishments to make it extra nice for you. That's before you get into the whole Kabbalah thing and you change your life around through small steps. That's the first thing. So, okay. By the way, I was thinking about this last night. It's like funny because sometimes our like guilt feeling is like, it's kind of like Tisha B'Av also. It's like, wow, you picture people that are crying and they're this, and you hold the serves at Elul back in Europe and all these things, and we feel like, okay, well, I'm not like there. It's like, let's try the other way. Go over to somebody in Europe 100 years ago and tell him, and he's sitting there, Elul, he's trembling, and you tell him, you should know 100 years from now, people your age are going to be doing the same thing you're doing with like no feeling at all, starting from behind, wishing it was over, not feeling scared a bit, just like pushing themselves and like wondering when it's over and when we're getting to Sukkot already. They'll be horrified, okay? They'll be like, I'm not doing that. Like, I'm not trading with you. There's no way. That's like way too hard, right? So I was just like thinking, if you revert, we always think, oh, I'm never going to be like them. If they would see us and they're seeing that we're still coming to davening, you can imagine how much they would respect that. I was like, I don't know, it just like it hit me. It's like, okay, yeah, you're in Europe and this is what you do. Well, this is what we do, and it's a whole lot harder, and we're still here, and we're still doing it, and we're showing up. Okay, that would be very, very, very impressive to all those people about whom we feel guilty. They're not. If they saw us now, they'd be like, "Wow, I can't do that." Maybe yeah, maybe no, but like I don't. You guys. That's like for the special forces. Okay, second thing, becoming a paratrooper. A person becomes a paratrooper, right? So his whole, it's the day before his big jump out of the plane, and he's practicing, and he's, yeah.
How do you get to say that, though, that they wouldn't be able to, like, you don't...
That's why I threw in the maybe yeah, maybe no. I don't know, but I just know one thing. The stuff we have to, forget even the terrible stuff that's all around us, that like lack of emotion that we have now because we're so far from everything, and the Kadosh Baruch Hu handpicked all of us to be able to fight that. Okay, everyone here was handpicked to be in this generation. The Gemara says that the Amoraim didn't. He said specifically they don't want to be in the generation before Mashiach. They don't want to see it. It's whether they could or they couldn't. It's terrifying, and we're doing it. Okay, we're actually the one generation left that's doing it. This is like, ask anybody. This is like a terrifying thought. What we're living in, that that we have to come to slichus with like absolutely no feeling, and we were the ones picked to still do it. And any amount that we put in, I would say it's very possible at least. I mean, there's no reason why it shouldn't be equal to what they were doing back then, and maybe more, because it's all the more harder. We like to think of those generations as like, well, they're like these glowing, celestial whatever, and we're just like nothing. No, like what we're doing right now is the same or better, very possibly, because we're starting so much more from behind. So the person wants to become a paratrooper, and he's practicing for that big jump, and he's exercising, and he's trying, and he's studying the maps, and he's getting himself into like top shape, and he's practicing the whole choreographing and the whole what time to jump and when to jump ahead. And he's got someone else, who's a friend of his, who's working an office job somewhere, and he's like, what are you doing? Like, you're going to do your jump, and you're going to join the paratroopers, and then you might even never end up jumping because they don't really use them so much in war. And once you get out of the army in a year, you're going to be, I don't know, you met like a taxi driver in Eretz Yisrael. Half of them will tell you, these guys who are, like they're sitting in their car, and the car leans over like this, and every time they cough, the car shakes. And they're telling you that in 1967, they were like, flying Air Force jets, which is probably true, and they were like single-handedly killed it. Fine. But now it's like, okay, but now look who you are. These guys these like, nothing against them. I'm just saying, like, they don't, the same reason when you sit down with them, you don't feel like you're sitting with like a war hero, right? It's like, so this guy's like, okay, you're a paratrooper now, but in 30 years from now, you're going to be sitting there, like, what are you putting in all this work for? Why? Like, we all know, 2 years ago, you were nothing. And 2 years from now, you'll be also sitting at a desk job. What do you need this whole thing for? So I think the answer is, the person says, because I'm a paratrooper. I made it. I have the medal. I got the picture. And I'm going to know for the rest of my life that I made it to this level. Does it mean in 2 weeks from now I'll be able to jump again? Probably. 6 months, questionable. 3 years, rusty. But I know that I made it. I know that I'm a person who has that potential. I hit it. And if you know that you can do it, that's something crazy to hold on to, because it gets rid of so much of the self-doubt that we have about ourselves. So think about it. This person, I am a paratrooper. This is who I am. So you want to tell me, oh, I'm a faker. I'm a faker. Not even a faker. What's the point? It's so futile. In 6 months from now comes like 2 weeks before Hanukkah, like, do you even remember? So again, we have plans for that. We've discussed this a million times. Yes, you can. You take that little Kabbalah, you hold on to it, you'll feel like $1 trillion. Okay, my family last week, we made a little Kabbalah about benching by the Shabbos table. And, we all benched the first bracha together. And all of a sudden I realized, I told them, like, that's it, we made it. It's been a year. I asked my family, is there any better feeling in the world that we collectively kept the Kabbalah together for an entire year? It was like mind-blowing. Okay, now that's something very, 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 very small in the context of the week. Just Shabbos, the first bracha, whatever. It is the best feeling in the world. You are now up a level. And it could be the best feeling if you keep it for a month too. Okay, but the point is that worst comes to worst. Let's say a guy is struggling to keep whatever he was going to hold on to from Rosh Hashanah, Sukkot, Yom Kippur, and it's 3 months into the year, and it's already getting cold, and Cleveland Heights is behind this plowing. Thank you, Mr. Stein. But you know what? It's like, but I was a paratrooper. I remember that this L, I knew it was only for that day of jumping from the plane. But I'm a paratrooper. So I have that potential that I could hold on to. So I could at least get a little bit there. I know who I am. And so it's so useful. It's not that it's, who are you kidding? I'm not kidding anybody. I don't know about you. Whatever. Somebody, you go to a guy next to you who just like gave up getting in and didn't even try. Okay, good. So how do you feel? You did your whole, what's the point thing? Okay, well, you for sure don't know your potential. Maybe you also, but you don't know. I proved it to myself, and I proved it to the world. I have that medal sitting in my house in that case, and every time I look at it, I know that I have that. So I know I could return to that. So that's another like major way to go into L, saying like getting rid of that, dispelling that whole like, what's the point? What's the point? First of all, you're respecting the system / respecting yourself, which means you're a royal subject and a citizen of the system, which means you're a sworn subject to the system, which means that you recognize it and you're awesome. That's one. Number two is you're going to see how incredibly high you can go, and you hold on to that for the rest of the year, which is really amazing. Now, there is one more thing to watch out for, and that's the part about getting carjacked, almost. In a way, it's extremely hard to get through El Yom Narayim and hold on to a Kabbalah. In a way, you pick something small enough, and the way I always gauge it is, how do you know if what you picked is the right size? You say, like, let's say I'm going to bench every day with my family out loud. Okay, how about only Shabbos? I could do that. And you go, one more. How about only the first bracha? And the second you start going, oh, come on, that for sure I can do. That's it. The second you start laughing at yourself and saying, that's it, that's the Kabbalah you keep. The second you start saying, like, that much I can for sure do, that's what you pick. But anyway, so let's say a person is now, he's ready to go, he's ready to roll, he's got his Kabbalah on hand, or he's going to have it, and he's got his machzor, and he's going to nail it. Okay, nailing it doesn't mean sitting the entire time davening, but he's got his mahal. He's got his one part that he's going to concentrate on the first day of Rosh Hashanah, one part the second day, something really small during Slichos, stand up that extra minute, whatever it's going to be. Okay, so now the Satan is very, 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 very scared. That's it, you got him, right? Because he knows that you're stronger than him, but he also knows, so he's not going to go after you, he's going to go after your plan. He's going to have to throw, we discussed this last year with Avraham Avinu. The Satan's trick a lot of times, you're stronger than him. Hashem wouldn't make him if you weren't stronger than him. But his job is, it's like guerrilla warfare. They're not stronger than the army coming in, but they can play enough tricks on them until they give up. And they can, or just cause them to even doubt themselves completely. They're going to go for something small, which is going to derail you. How's he going to do that? So my wife and I were driving in Bar Harbor, Maine, and we were driving in our Jeep Wrangler. That's what they gave us. I wouldn't. What? His name? Okay, give me some thought. I don't usually name rentals because it's not healthy. I almost named my dishwasher once. I'm like, okay, Daisy. Anyway, so we were driving our Wrangler, and all of us, we're stuck in this like touristy traffic. I was walking around with the ice cream cones and like buying like T-shirts, and it's like, guys, really? Okay, and because the book said you have to try this. And we're driving through, and all of a sudden get a knock on the window of our car. This regular-looking, normal middle-aged lady. So she's like knocks as if like maybe I hit something. I'm not sure. So I roll down the window, and she goes, this rental car. She probably realized it's got the little no smoking stickers. You could tell a rental car. She's like, this rental car, it's ours. You switched it. I mean, this is our car. It's the plates. They got switched. I'm like, well. So now the way she said it was like it was like could totally throw you off. It didn't make any sense, right? But it was like, wait, what? She looked normal. She's knocking on my window. So my wife was in the back seat with the baby, whatever. So I was like sitting there, and her head's like halfway in the window, and she starts taking out her phone and trying to show me, yeah, it's our car. We switched it, whatever. And it was like really. So like I caught myself and I stopped. I'm just like, okay. First of all, something's off here. Second of all, this is my car. Trust me, this is my car. And finally, after like a minute of her fumbling with her phone, I just looked at her and I said, no. And I started driving and it like hit her head a little bit. She came out of the car. I drove off. She screamed, come back, come back. That was it. Okay, fine. I called the cop later. I asked him like, what is this? Is it going to like scam that people? Like if you ask me, there was some scam going on to like someone get behind our wheel and take our car in bumper to bumper traffic. I don't know. But it seemed like that. And he said, no, looks like something just weird happened to you. I'm like, I told him like, you have no idea. But the point is that she really really threw me off for a second. Like everything. Like she was able to come and for like a split second, enough for me to just like look like, this is your car? Like, to the point I doubted for a half a second, is this even my car I'm driving? I'm in my car and my kids, the keys work, my stuff is in the car. And all of a sudden it's like, oh, switch, license plate, rental car. It was crazy. If I didn't hold on tight for a second and just be like, something's wrong, take a second, even if it is, which it's not, we can work this out, just deep breath, until it was just like, It threw me off. So that was like, that's what the Yetzer Hara does sometimes. If you're going to come in there and you're armed to the teeth with your recognition of who you are, how special you are to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, your Kabbalah, you're ready to go, you are armed to the teeth and you are ready to knock this out of the park. And you got the strategy. The Yetzer Hara lost on trying to make it a guilt trip. And he lost on trying to make it overwhelming. And you have it. just, I don't know how it could happen, but that's what the Yitzhar does. He throws you off for a second. He totally confuses you to the point is, till the point that you don't even know who you are. You know, and then who am I? Who's my Kabbalah? What? You'll doubt everything. And this could happen. This is, I think this is, you know, Timoy and Levav, maybe the last Chet, where a person could do a Chet because she's just confused. Confusion is his biggest weapon. Misinformation, disinformation, all these terms they throw today, it's very scarce. So that's what to look out for. He's going to throw a small little trick, one small little, you know, gathering with friends that doesn't go right maybe, something. Hold on tight, know who you are, you got this, have a great Shabbos.